Welcome to Arbory Digital Update from the Forest. I'm Tad Reeves, Principal Architect at Arbory Digital. Today's topic is future content management systems. Crazy changes that we're going to see in this new era of artificial intelligence. So I just got back a couple weeks ago from 2 full weeks at Adobe headquarters in San Jose, attending 3 separate events. One of them is the Adobe Champions Forum, which I spoke about previously. It's all some of the top minds in digital marketing, digital experience management. Got your top analytics folks, top business-to-business marketing folks, top commerce folks, top content management folks, which I try to be. We got a chance to talk to a lot of, holy goodness. We got a chance to talk to some of the top minds at Adobe that had to do with the future digital marketing. This is, where's the industry going and what products do we need to make people to be most effective over the coming years? And in that, I'm going to try to distill a couple of the big themes from that, hopefully not while crashing. And one of the most major themes in all of that is the idea of what they call the dual engagement imperative. This is the idea that we got to be designing the web and designing all brand interactions to be able to treat both individual humans operating a browser themselves and their agents operating on their behalf. Both of them as first-class citizens, and to be able to service them equally well. Because there's a lot of change that's happening in the industry, and it's happening very, very fast. As of, year and a half, 2 years ago or so, most people out there hadn't heard of ChatGPT, and most people hadn't heard of things like Perplexity and Copilot and things like that because they weren't even on the market. There you have ChatGPT, which, OpenAI is now doing $10 billion in annualized revenue after only 3 years. It took Google 8 years to hit that same mark, despite the fact that Google's rise to the scene was similarly explosive. And to kind of put some of these changes in the web in a perspective, because we're talking about things that we've never, it's interactions, describing interactions that we've never really had to describe before. Whoa, come on, baby. And for example, the word agentic still comes up as a misspelling in most of my spell checkers. It didn't even exist previously. The whole idea being a piece of software that is outcome-based, and it's doing things on your behalf. And it may have to autonomously execute a number of individual tasks in service of what you're trying to have it get done. So if you take something on the order of, let's say you're trying to do something like, you're going to renovate a garage or something like that. So if you take something like, you're going to make take a garage and you're going to convert it into your home office space. So previously, let's say you've got a task like, okay, good, I want to create a list of all of the electronics that I'm going to need, all the receptacles. I've got requirements like I want 60-watt fast charging on all my receptacles. In addition to the fact I'm going to need a new panel, my server size is going to be this size, blah, blah, blah. So you got all these different objects that you're going to need to buy from various electrical supply stores. You're going to need to know which ones are capable of what. Oh, now. You're gonna need to know which ones are capable of what, etc. So previously, you might spend a week going through components, going through what can do what, sifting through specifications, and so forth. These days, though, the expectation is that you could farm this out to agentic search. That you could give all of your requirements to something like Grok Expert or Copilot or ChatGPT 5 or whatever, and that's going to go and find all these specs by itself. So if you look at what it's going to then need to do, it's going to be doing a lot of website visiting on your behalf. Those are high quality, very necessary website hits that previously you might classify those as bots. Might even try to block them to try to lessen your server load. But now they are absolutely what you need. So let's take a step back for a second. So I've been in the business for the big website, the content management system business for, I don't know, about 20, 25 years now. And if you recall back to even before the era, I mean, some of my coworkers haven't even been alive this long, but recall back to like 1995, right? Or 94, even before the internet, right? In 95, the internet's been commercially available for like a year, but still a surprisingly large fraction of big brand websites, well, big brands, simply didn't even have a website yet. They were just not present on the internet. It was a fad. And your major marketing wasn't going to be on the internet. It was other venues, other things. There's going to be other ways of getting about it. Your product purchase funnel would be somebody would find out about you somehow. Let's say you're in the market for a new pickup truck. So somehow you find out about the Chevy Silverado and the Ford F-150. You read Car and Driver, Promoter Trend, find out a couple things. Maybe you read Consumer Reports, and then you see an advert in the paper, and you're like, maybe I should go have a look. You find yourself, open the yellow pages or whatever, find a local dealership, and you stop by. Maybe you don't purchase, but at that point in time, at least, you've got the opportunity to read a brochure. Somebody sticks a brochure in your hand. So your graphic designers and your copywriters and so forth, that's where they were spending their time, is to make sure you had a brochure. You only got so much space on the page, and need a couple of punchy points. You're not going to put every single specification in the world on there. You only have enough room for a couple of product shots. So, you got to do your best with the limited space you've got. You're not going to give the guy a book. So, but then fast forward to the internet. Internet happens, the next thing you know, there's this assumption, which is now held true for the last 20 years, where brands are now assuming that they can have the sole source of information, that they can completely own the customer interaction and all the customer data points, or majority of the authoritative customer data points from that point of acquisition. That wasn't the case before. You could never make that assumption. You didn't own the yellow pages. You didn't own the mechanisms of the person. You didn't own Car and Driver. You didn't own any of those customer acquisition points. So, but now fast forward to now. Now people are getting, in many cases, very rightfully bent out of shape around LLMs, large language models, stuff like GPT and Copilot and such, stealing your content, repurposing it. Well, surprise, This is not something that you're going to be able to slow the tide of. This is only going to get more. So what does this mean in terms of brass tacks then? If you're a large content management site owner, what do you got to do? Well, for one thing, you got to know that this is happening. Over the last year, Adobe's got a lot of analytics. Anywhere between a 10x and 50x increase in agent traffic. That is, agents doing things on users' behalf. That's agent traffic on websites, especially commerce-related ones, over the last year. That trend is not slowing down, showing zero signs of slowing down. So what are the things that you need to do? So number one, realizing that somebody is still going to come to your website, but generally it might be at a very different place on the purchasing funnel. So that's one thing. Number two, when agents are coming to your site, let's just say you're doing a search like the aforementioned one, doing a whole bunch of searches on receptacles and panels and wiring and decorative sconces and all kinds of stuff that you're going to stick in an office. So if the agent doesn't have that data already, like specifications on a wall sconce, which it probably won't have, it's going to need to fan out and then access your site. Because of the fact that they need to provide their results in a timely fashion to you, Adobe's research has found that they tend to completely ignore sites that don't respond in 3 seconds. So if you're not providing the data back with a fully rendered page in 3 seconds, they're out. So it's not just kind of the previous, for SEO, we really want to have a fast site. It's not just your ranking. It's that you just won't show up at all. Like, not at all. 0%. You'll get completely bageled. So that's one thing. You need to have a site that is extraordinarily fast, especially for the data that the agent is trying to get. So you previously were like, we have to fetch all this stuff dynamically because, our menus won't fully load. If we're not, okay, then you know what? You gotta go with the fastest possible mechanism, or else you're just gonna get checkmated. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is that prioritizing the ability to very quickly roll out all of the content that you should have on your site, which means democratizing access. That means increasing the speed of doing migrations, lowering the amount of time that you're spending on technical upgrades and things like that, and vastly widening the availability of agents that can do things having to do with website production, which means bad things for content management systems, which are really tightly wound around a super thick, very difficult to develop on stack. And yes, I have previously, in multiple points of my career, supported such a stack. It's just not the way for the future. If you want an agent that says, where you can say, give it commands and say, I want you to roll out country-specific text for this blog post, suggest it to me, let me approve. To have it roll it out. You need to enable that, as opposed to trying to do everything manually or trying to maintain a grip on governance when that's not even what you should be focusing on. So the thing is, the big point that I wanted to make is that we are at as much of an inflection point right now in the web as we were in 1995. I got my start in all of this stuff as a graphic designer doing Corel Draw for a screen printing house that screen printed stuff and did other local graphic design. I quickly realized that that was not going to be the way of the future. Well, we've got some future stuff happening right now, and it's best to educate yourself and then get yourself in such a position where you're ready for this new dual engagement imperative. Thanks for hanging with me. Talk to you next time.